Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, Just Some Bodhi's Opinion. My name is Bodhi, and this is the channel where I talk about random things that matter to me. Right now, it's all about the Wheel of Time, and we're back in my Wheel of Time reread reviews, and we're getting into Crown of Swords. So today I am using my wife's camera, so let's see if it has any improvement on me, and let's dive into it. So, spoiler warning, I am going to be deeply discussing the Crown of Swords. Also, I already apologize in advance for butchering how the pronunciations are. I've seen some reviews so far, and I see that I am saying all of these names in a different way. So, apologies in advance. So, let's first look back at what I thought I remembered from my what I remembered from the Wheel of Time review. Crown of Swords. Rand gets the Crown of Swords, which I think wasn't that the Laurel Crown of Ilya, which is Samael, I think. And the photo is 40-year-old Rand in Shatter Logoth and looking super jacked up. So I guess this is also the time Morden and he would be crossing streams. Very Ghostbusters, but this is the time they'll be crossing streams. So, okay, that's all I remember. There's nothing else I remember. So, as per usual, I didn't remember much about the Crown of Swords besides the Crown of Swords. Um, so, let's just dive into what I liked about the Crown of Swords. One of the things that I super liked about the Crown of Swords was the continued development of Rand. You could see, especially because the book starts with the aftermath of Dumai's Wells, you can see the effect of this on Rand. One of the first scenes was literally Rand going to each of the dead maidens and memorizing their names and their faces. And another example of the trauma was when they met the sea folk in Kyrian or Camelin. Oh my god, I've forgotten. Whether one of the seas. So when they met with the sea folk, he basically starts to have a panic attack because he was enclosed in a box and he ripped out the chair so that he could go out. So you could see the after effects of Dumai's wells on him. And so more importantly, you can see the importance of Min's stabilizing effect on him. And you can see that she's one of the only things that's keeping him sane right now. And getting into this hot pot of insanity was Kadswani's appearance. And this was her first appearance. And she basically confronts Rand with, "Have you been hearing voices yet?" And then snaps. And continuing with Rand's increasing confidence was his fool plan in going to the rebels in Haddon Merc and trusting his Taveran nature to basically make things happen. And so he goes in there, and of course, everything goes to shit. And there's a Blade Master duel, and there's a Bubble of Evil, and there's a Fog Monster everywhere. And of course, Padan Fane is there, and everything's going to hell. And he gets stabbed in the stomach. And which leads to one of my favorite sequences where the Aes Sedai tried to save him, but in the end, it was Damer Flynn, the Ashaman, who saves him with his peculiar sort of healing, with his weaving, which was very cool because suddenly you see an Ashaman who was not just a weapon, but was actually a healer. And the great reaction to one of the yellows, their reaction was literally, "Teach me what you've done, I'll do whatever you want." Okay, back to my likes. So I loved Matt and Brigitte bonding because suddenly they found people who could keep their secrets because Matt knew that she was Brigitte because he was the horn sounder, and Brigitte knew something about Matt's memories because of his different accents in Old Tongue. And the aftermath of Brigitte and Matt bonding was Brigitte confronting Nynaeve and Elaine, and I love this. I love this so much because finally someone confronts Nynaeve and Elaine about what happened in the Stone of Tear and the disrespect that they gave Matt ever since 3 books ago, no 4 books ago now, where they basically ignored him for saving their lives while infiltrating the unassailable fortress of the Stone of Tear. So I loved how they finally confront Nynaeve, and Avienda tells Elaine quite seriously, "You have tow for this man," and I absolutely agreed. And what I loved with that sequence was while Nynaeve was incredulous, Elaine was like, "You're right, near sister. Tell me what I can do to pay off this toll." And I love that sequence because they go and confront Matt and try to and give promises basically to follow him and to be respectful to him. And I loved how this was all within the Gieto framework. To me, the Gieto was very sensible. And staying with the characters that we have, I love Nynaeve's unblocking. So in the previous book, in Lord of Chaos, everyone wanted to unblock Nynaeve so that they could learn more about her type of healing and what she did to heal the stilling of Swan and Liane, Liane. They were all having problems in unblocking Nynaeve. And then finally, well, it took Mogedian trying to balefire Nynaeve out of existence. And in that moment where Nynaeve was drowning, she finally fully surrendered to the one power and it came to her. And then of course Lan was there to save her too. And they got married by the sea folk, which would have other repercussions later on, which I think will only happen in the next book. So spoilers. Another thing I loved was Elaine finally taking control of the rebel Aes Sedai. And this happened because of the discovery of the kin, which apparently was a well kept secret of Aes Sedai. And the rebel Aes Sedai were berating Elaine and Nynaeve for discovering the kin and making contact. And they were basically saying, "Well, we didn't tell you because you're not really Aes Sedai." And Elaine flips that back to them and said, "If you don't think that we're Aes Sedai, then you're saying that the Amerlin seat, Egwene Alvir, is not Aes Sedai. So basically, either accept the fact that we're Aes Sedai and we are higher than you in the power, and thus you have to defer to us, or just freaking leave." And that flip actually made them accept and accept that they were above Nynaeve and Elaine. And finally, another like I had was Egwene finally taking control, taking some agency on being the Amerlin seat. I remember loving because she wasn't going to be anyone's puppet anymore. And she was getting all these secret oaths around and she started, spreading her influence amongst the hall. And that was very cool to see that development. So getting into my dislikes, dislike one was actually Samael's anticlimactic death. Because what happened was that Rand bail fired Leah, the Aiel woman who was lost in Shadar Logoth. And because of that bail fire, Mashdar basically overwhelmed Samael. And we never hear from Samael ever again. So that was very anticlimactic. The plan to get him out of Ilian was cool, but his actual death, after all the things that he was doing, it was like, oh, okay, he's dead. Is he dead? Another thing I didn't like was Matt's storyline. I mean, I enjoy reading anything Matt, but I feel like the storyline itself, because of how it was placed in the structure of the book, was pretty stale for him because he was basically stuck in Ebudar waiting on the women. And so it was just, a watching game for him. And so nothing much was happening for him. And my final dislike is Perrin, who was such a bamf in Lord of Chaos, suddenly being relegated, I think, to a background because he goes to Geldan to get the prophet, Masima. And I guess that's what happens. And then, it's all the weird dynamics between Fayil and Berlin, which again, not my favorite. So let's talk about things that I forgot about. I forgot about the whole Elida situation and Alviarin taking control of Elida because of blackmail. Literally the failure of Dumais Wells and sending 51 sisters into the Black Tower when there were like 200 Ashaman at that moment in time when Elida thought there were three. And of course, we realized that Alviarin was Black Aja. Ah. And then I forgot about Morghese again. Though importantly, she abdicates. Again, I don't understand why Morghese is in this book series. But the cool thing that happens while she's there is that the Shanshan invade Amador and Balwer Balwer? Balwer. Balwer helps them escape, and I love Balwer. He is my favorite spy master. So if only to get Balwer, then thank you, Marquez. And then I forgot that this was where they find the Bowl of Winds after so long. And I don't like the Bowl of Winds storyline much. I feel like it was so prolonged. Like this could have been over in one book, but no. We learn about it in Lord of Chaos when Nynaeve was trying to escape from her duties as accepted. We spent the entire book of Crown of Swords looking for the Bowl of Winds. And then we finally find it at the very end, and then the Shanshan invade. So like we haven't even gotten to the use of the Bowl of Winds yet. And I won't speak spoilers about the next book, so let me relate my frustration there later. So, how does it rank so far for me in my Wheel of Time reread? So, to recap from my previous book review, my current ranking of all the Wheel of Time books up to this point was number one, Shadow Rising. Number two, ranked together, was The Great Hunt and Lord of Chaos. Number three was The Dragon Reborn. And then tied at number four was Fires of Heaven and Eye of the World. So if I were to think about Crown of Swords, I would actually put it above the Dragon Reborn. Yeah, I would actually put it above the Dragon Reborn. So it's actually in number three in my rankings right now because I actually enjoyed the Crown of Swords a lot, especially since this was also the wrap up of the plan to get Samael because we see that it was being laid out in the previous book for Lord of Chaos, and finally it was wrapped up now. So yeah, that's how I rank the Crown of Swords. Some people classify Crown of Swords as slog. Definitely not. That is not slog. That was still pretty good. And and I was pretty involved with the entire thing. And as you can see, it's actually part of my top three. So what did you think about Crown of Swords? Did you think it was sloggy? Because to me it was pretty good. And if you like listening to me talk about my thoughts and opinions on my reread of The Wheel of Time, please like and subscribe. And I'll see you on the reread.
Just somebody's opinion.